Hello friends, and welcome out to another episode of Andrew Good Camera. In today's episode, we're going to be doing some street photography. It has been years since I've done street photography, probably pre-pandemic, unless I'm forgetting an outing or two. And today I'm in Vegas, and I have brought with me three of my favorite street photography cameras, three cameras that I love and that I will probably never sell, and that I will always cherish and love for documentary photography, specifically for street photography. And so I'm going to tell you about these three cameras, going to take them out and do some street photography with these cameras, and it's going to be fun. So the first camera that I have with me today is upside down. It is the X100V, of course. The Fuji X100V is a compact camera with a fixed 23mm f2 lens. The output of the photos are superb, owing to 5 generations of perfecting that 23 f2 lens, which is extremely sharp all the way through the aperture range, which can focus extremely close to subjects, and adding to that, just has a gorgeous color output that Fuji has absolutely perfected. The sum and total of the quality of imagery that this camera outputs is close to perfection in my mind. But that's just the beginning of what makes this camera a joy to use. In my opinion, it's probably the most gorgeous camera ever designed. I get really excited to pick this up and to shoot with it. I'm constantly trying to think of things we can do as a family so I can get out and actually use it. And to me, that's the mark of an inspiring camera. But we'll start with this camera. I'll use the Insta360 to do kind of a 360 shot, and it'll be fun. So we'll start with this one. I don't know how many keepers I'll get, how many great shots. I'm aiming for, 4 or 5 shots that I'm proud of with each of these devices. So let's go see if we can get a few keepers. Unfortunately, I set up my Insta360 X3 incorrectly, so instead of giving you a 360-degree view of what I experienced on my photo walk, which is normally what I try to provide when doing street photography, you get only the view behind me, so sorry about that. I'm definitely out of practice when it comes to street photography and filming myself. Before we dive into the other cameras, I do want to take a minute to thank this video's sponsor, which is KEH.com. All of the cameras I'm talking about today are available on KEH.com for quite a bit of a discount of what you would normally pay for them new. And that's one reason that I use KEH, to get a great deal on a great camera. As you may know, I buy most of my gear from KEH if I can, and there's 3 important reasons for that. One is, as I mentioned, the price. I can get great quality gear, which has been vetted, tested, and cleaned by some of the industry's top experts to ensure I know exactly what I'm getting. And 2, I can choose the condition of that gear relative to my budget. And finally, I get the peace of mind with a 180-day return warranty, but also they offer the extend warranty, which gives me an added peace of mind. After years of working with KEH, they're exclusively who I go to for pre-owned gear, and who I would absolutely recommend you go to for any of the gear that we're talking about today, and other street photography gear that you might be looking for.
So thanks KEH for sponsoring this video and for what you add to the photography community. The next camera I want to tell you about and give you some examples of is the new Nikon Zf, which is fast becoming one of my favorite cameras of all time. And it's no wonder why, when you consider that my favorite film camera to shoot with of all time was the Nikon FE2. When I got into film photography, I searched long and hard for that perfect vintage camera, and this is the one that I fell in love with. So much of the focus of the F line of Nikon cameras at the time was on the manual process. When it was made, there were certainly more professional models, which came equipped with a lot more fanciness and auto features for sure. And all that is mirrored today when you compare the Nikon FZ to the Nikon Z9 or other current high-end Z bodies. So just like the FE2 in its day, the Nikon FZ might be the rebellious little brother, and hanging out with him for sure is going to get you into trouble, but he's a lot more fun and exciting to be around, so why wouldn't you? On top of that, it just feels a lot safer with this on the street. No criminal would assume that this is a high-end digital device, probably, but rather they might assume you're a weird hipster with a film camera and not worth their time. On top of that, the controls are actually made of brass, which no one does anymore, and that's actually one of the things I love about my black FE2. Look at this beautiful brassing, which enables it to age gracefully. Knowing that my Nikon Zf is gonna do the same thing just makes it appeal to me even more. But in addition to just those killer good looks, there are of course other things that I love about the Zf. I love the feel of the camera, like I said. I've always preferred numbered dials over infinitely scrolling dials that modern DSLRs and mirrorless bodies tend to use. I love the fully articulating screen so that I can use it as a hybrid device, which appeals to me as a content creator. I love the aperture indicator on top. I know that's supposed to look like a film advancement indicator, but I have come to rely on that, and I like that little aperture indicator since I shoot in aperture priority most of the time on the streets or when doing documentary photography. The 8-stop 5-axis VR stabilization is great for those none too stable spaz hands that I have, and I know we're shooting in the black and white today, but the last reason I love Nikon is the colors out of the camera. I actually created a blind test a while back comparing the colors of all major camera brands and discovered that for myself, I tend to prefer, when it comes to raw output anyway, the colors of Nikon above the other brands. When it comes to flavored colors or stylized, I do tend to prefer Fuji and some of those filmic profiles, but when it comes to just straight out of camera, it's Nikon for me. I love how this door reflected this temporary construction walkway, which had some nice light bouncing around and providing a nice backdrop, this industrial feel. I liked the reflections also, how that provided some texture to the photos, but also just gave me a little bit more stealthiness where people didn't know that I was actually photographing them through the reflection. I always look for reflections in street photography for that reason, and also just because it can add a lot of really interesting texture. So I spent some time doing some street photography fishing, as we call it, here at this spot.
I've now done 2 out of 3 of my favorite cameras for street photography ever. Honestly, I don't know how good the shots are. I'm a little out of practice, but it's fun anyway. It's fun to be out here. My last camera that I have is one of my favorites of all time that I don't shoot with enough. I actually have a collection of these. This is the Rollei 35s. This is the only one I have in the paint black. It's a Singapore copy. I do have several of the Germany, just the Rollei 35 regular. But this one's my favorite one to use when I'm actually doing street photography because of the black paint. But yeah, these are notable because they are so obviously so tiny and inconspicuous. You can't focus very close with them. You have to range focus, zone focus. You can't, it doesn't have a focus finder. There is a viewfinder, but not a rangefinder. So you have to kind of guesstimate or shoot sort of like at infinity, everything in focus. And so that's what we've got. These are challenging to shoot with. I'm gonna try to shoot a whole roll, and I brought, what I have here is the JCH Street Pan, obviously Japan Camera Hunter brand, 400 black and white, really moody, gritty film, and yeah, excited to shoot with this. I'm not sure if the Japan Camera Hunter makes this stuff anymore, if this is even made anymore. I've had it sitting in my fridge for maybe 3 or 4 years, but I only shot with it once. This will be the second time, so we'll load that up and see how it goes. Well, I didn't quite finish this roll, but it's starting to get evening time here in Vegas on the Strip. And when it starts to get night in Vegas, it gets a little too crazy for these Utah boys. So we gotta call it quits. But I think I might have gotten at least a few shots that I'm happy with. Hopefully on each one of the cameras, but either way, I really do love these 3 cameras. Don't intend to ever sell them. And although there are a few other cameras that I do love for street photography as well, these are the 3 that I can afford to own and keep, and I love them. So anyway, hope you enjoyed coming along with me today, and remember to do good with your own cameras, so we'll talk to you again real soon.